After being abandoned by his ex-girlfriend Mira, Michael became disheartened and ultimately married me at his family's behest. Everyone remarked that Michael had a virtuous wife, and we could have lived peacefully as contractual spouses for a lifetime. However, on the night of the wedding banquet, he held his mistress Mira's hand in front of all the guests and declared upon returning home, "Vivian, let's divorce," eliciting a collective gasp from the room. Contrary to others' expectations, I responded to this absurd situation with a faint smile and immediate agreement, thinking, "Michael, since you're willing to suffer deceit, I'll grant your wish." Today marks the 3rd anniversary of my marriage to Michael, and as per tradition, I organized a grand banquet, inviting mostly Michael's business associates and well-connected second-generation elites from our circle. "Madam, nearly all the guests have arrived, what do you think?" I understood the butler's unspoken predicament. Everyone was present except the central figure, Michael. In public, we consistently portrayed a harmonious couple, and it was rare for him to be absent without a word like this. "It's fine, let's wait a bit longer," I said calmly, sitting aside while fingering the pregnancy test report, intending to share the news of our 3-year marriage resulting in a child, a joy meant to be mutual. The clock's hands moved leisurely, finally reaching 10 o'clock sharp, and as the door swung open, the guests' cheerful chatter ceased instantly. My best friend Zoe and I were discussing her new drama when the abrupt silence made our laughter feel awkwardly pronounced, the reason being evident. Michael entered holding another woman's hand. That woman was none other than Mira, confidently trailing behind Michael with a triumphant allure in her expression. "Hello everyone, I am Michael's next wife, and henceforth, your new sister-in-law," she announced, flirtatiously tossing her hair, introducing herself brazenly as if I were invisible. "Isn't that the up-and-coming actress from Idol Dramas? What a despicable mistress." After a deathly silence, hushed whispers rippled through the crowd. "Vivian, let's divorce, Mira is back," he said at a banquet attended by business elites and prominent families from City A. By addressing divorce in front of so many people, Michael intended to leave me no room to salvage our marriage. Several of Michael's friends began to dissuade him. "Your wife helped you so much back then, and now you're betraying her for a third-rate actress?" "Michael, I suggest reconsidering the divorce. With so many people here, you should consider the repercussions." Zoe charged forward, hurling the LV bag she had just shown off to me at Mira's face, shouting, "You wretch, you think you can star in my script? You man-stealing mistress, I'll expose your vile deeds to the press." Mira immediately burst into tears, her eyes reddening as tears welled up, a performance reminiscent of the teardrop by teardrop crying favored in Cheongyao dramas, suggesting that Mira, often criticized for poor acting, had already mastered that standard. "Michael, this lunatic hit me, she hit me for your haggard wife," Mira wailed, as Michael furrowed his brow and tightly embraced his once discarded white moonlight, saying, "We're pulling out of your script, a withdrawal notice will follow shortly." By then, Zoe no longer cared about the drama. "If you won't do it, fine, you adulterous pair who need your filthy money?" Infuriated, Mira, shielded by Michael, lunged to strike Zoe. I intercepted her slap and returned it with full force, the paw resounding sharply. She recoiled in pain, whimpering aside, while Michael's eyes brimmed with distress, turning red as he grabbed my collar in front of all the guests, ostensibly to deliver justice for Mira. "Vivian, what are you?" he demanded. Indeed, what was I? A fallback after she discarded him, a wife who managed his household for 3 years, yet all those years of closeness amounted to nothing before his cherished white moonlight. I shoved away his grip on my collar, gazing coldly at him and his lover. Since he disregarded my feelings on such an occasion, I saw no need to spare his dignity. "If the Liu family won't invest in the drama, the Lin family will no need for your handouts." However, I shifted tone, eyes dripping with sarcasm. "I agree to the divorce," folding the pregnancy report into a small square, tossing it aside, and calling the moving company as if no one else were present, silencing the noisy hall instantly. On the very day of the banquet's upheaval, I moved out of the Liu residence without hesitation, paying triple wages to ensure the movers worked faster than a rocket. I arrived at my long-acquired countryside villa, lying quietly on the leather sofa I had coveted for so long. Leaving him in that house, I felt all burdens lift in an instant. 5 years of acquaintance and 3 years of marriage, my ceaseless toil had yielded only a loveless union. Michael, the divorce you yearned for might have been what I eagerly anticipated. A woman's emotions are intricate, shifting from love to hate in a mere moment. Mira, a rising starlet, saw news of her disruption spread like wildfire through the entertainment industry by the next day. Suddenly, the internet was inundated with vitriolic comments. How could Mira do this? I'll reserve judgment until all facts are known. I've said it, Mira isn't like that, just wait for the press conference, okay? The innocent will clear themselves. Female celebrities in the entertainment world just love being mistresses. No one's clean. Reading these remarks, I struggled to suppress laughter, my thoughts drifting to 5 years ago when the Liu family's business collapsed, drowning in debt and teetering on bankruptcy. Meanwhile, Mira, then intimately tied to Michael, abruptly left for another agency, abandoning him. Now, seeing him revive with Lin family support, she returned to claim the spoils. A shrewd maneuver indeed. 3 days later, Mira held a press conference to defend herself, and I attended, wearing sunglasses and quietly observing their performance from the audience. Mira adopted a new narrative, weeping profusely on stage in a pitiable display, explaining, "It's all a misunderstanding. The entertainment industry often uses slander to wound the innocent." I couldn't help but smirk. Had her acting been this polished back then, Michael's investments might have suffered fewer losses over the years. She continued, "Michael and I were a couple before, but someone came between us, prompting a clamor from the reporters below. So, Miss Mira, who was it?" "Vivian, the Lin family's heiress," she replied. 5 years ago, we were deeply in love, but Michael's family insisted on a Lin alliance, so I was abandoned then. Fortunately, Michael never gave up on me. Behold, her tears flowed more copiously than the Yellow River unleashed, staging a melodrama of a CEO and his white moonlight actress thwarted by a wicked heiress. Even the most patient listener would tire of such lies, and I stood to leave. Unexpectedly, despite my thorough disguise, that vixen on stage still recognized me. Sobbing on stage, Mira pointed my way. "Oh, Miss Vivian, since you're here, no need to hide." A swarm of reporters then buzzed toward me, encircling me tightly. "Miss Vivian, please explain. Is what Miss Mira just said true?" I removed my sunglasses, chuckled softly, and said, "I can only say the truth differs greatly. Time will reveal the liar," then departed the venue with poise, heedless of the chaos behind me. Michael called to set a divorce date, and I suggested next Wednesday. He asked, "Must you be so hasty? You packed and left home in such a rush before too." His voice on the line betrayed no emotion, his questioning made me seem aggressive, while he feigned reluctance and affection pathetic, theatrical, and nauseating. I laughed in fury. "What then? Should I stay to be your bridesmaid and hand you the rings?" My retort left him speechless. Yet, despite finalizing plans, we didn't divorce. Michael's mother, Auntie, summoned me with a call. "Vivian, no matter what, you've called me Mom for 3 years. Give me some consideration. There's still a chance to mend things, so talk one last time," she pleaded tearfully. In the 3 years since I married in, my mother-in-law treated me kindly. Moreover, the Lin and Liu families were once close allies, so courtesy compelled me to attend, even if little came of it. Regrettably, my belly was growing, so I wore a loose dress to conceal it. If Auntie knew I was pregnant with a Liu child, she'd surely oppose the divorce. Michael's stance was resolute, even bringing Mira to the talks. Clad in flat shoes and a loose dress without makeup, I paled beside the garishly adorned Mira. "Auntie, good afternoon," I said, perhaps unsettling her with the altered address, intending only to assert myself against the uninvited mistress, Mira. Auntie grasped my hand. Child, you're not divorced yet, you should still call me Mom. Mira, unable to sit still, bristled. Mom, if she won't call you that, I will. Michael and I have agreed to wed next month. Perhaps overly indulged by Michael, she lacked decorum. Shut up, outsider. You have no place to speak here. Auntie snapped. Visibly enraged, Auntie grabbed coffee to splash on her, but Michael shielded her fiercely. Mom, Mira's pregnant. The coffee halted midair as hesitation flashed across Auntie's face. I thought she still cared for the child, a bearer of the Lu lineage. At this, I touched my slightly swollen belly, home to a small life. Only then did my resolve to keep the child waver. Born without a father's protection, he'd face a fractured family forever. Auntie sat down slowly, and after a long pause, she resolved firmly, either abort the child or let Vivian raise it. Choose. At that moment, Michael's heart was solely with Mira, heedless of his aging mother. This time, he chose to defiantly oppose her command. He glared at Auntie with disgust. So, let the child grow up motherless, like me? My heart sank. Glancing at Auntie, I saw her eyes already red. Suddenly, her once melodious voice, adept at Beijing opera, choked, emitting a hoarse, anguished sound laden with sorrow and despair. True, I'm your father's second wife, but my conscience is clear. I've honored your father and you even more. Though we share no blood, your mother died early, and I raised you painstakingly all my life, yet now you say this. Auntie's hands trembled uncontrollably, advanced in years, rage overwhelmed her. Clutching my sleeve, she wept uncontrollably and fainted instantly, my suppressed anger surging beyond restraint. After calling 911, I flung the coffee hard at Michael's head. Ungrateful wretch. I couldn't fathom why he dared broach this. Auntie had sacrificed so much for him when Michael was young. The Lu family wasn't wealthy, and his birth mother, after bearing him, worked herself to death early on. Auntie came from a modestly affluent, scholarly family. Inexplicably, she chose to marry a man with a child. Michael once told me Auntie raised him from infancy, with many siblings and biased parents. She forewent having her own children to give him full parental love. Yet today, for Mira, he uttered such harsh words. While Auntie was hospitalized, Michael and I tended to her. As for his beloved Mira, she left early for work. I sat dazed by the bed. Auntie's once rosy cheeks were pallid, her quiet form on the bed with faint breaths seeming ready to fade. Michael suggested buying porridge, looking at me with some guilt and asking what I wanted. I shook my head, indicating no appetite. Michael, how much do you despise me? Your fondness for Mira is your affair, but you shouldn't treat your mother this way. How desperate she must have felt hearing that. When Auntie awoke at dawn the next day, her first words were, Vivian, I'm truly sorry to you and the Lin family. That child must not be born, absolutely not. Knowing she meant well, I poured her water and smiled. Auntie, it's fine, that child won't be born. Her eyes widened in confusion, asking why. I showed her paparazzi photos from days prior, because she was never pregnant. In the photos, Mira mingled arm in arm with a crowd, cigarette in hand. She aimed to secure her place in the Lu family through a child, but what mother smokes and drinks while pregnant? Seeing the images, Auntie's face betrayed unmasked disgust. 5 years ago, when the Lu family faltered, she fled fastest. Now, seeing us thrive, she seduces Michael with vile tactics. Disgusting. Then, holding my hand with teary eyes, she said, Sorry, Vivian, the Lu family has wronged you, Michael has wronged you. How could I not know? But now, apologies were futile. My marriage to Michael was parentally arranged, though we were half-childhood companions. As kids, our families were neighbors on the same street, but he was always cold and uninterested in playing with me. As adults, both families prospered and supported each other. When the Lu family rapidly expanded into the film industry, he met the youthful, radiant Mira, one of the first talents they signed as they entered entertainment. Among that initial batch, they fell in love at first sight. However, after venturing into entertainment, the Liu family faced cash flow issues, nearing bankruptcy. Contrary to Mira's claims, I never interfered. It was she who abandoned Michael when the Liu family struggled financially. She didn't take roles to sustain it, instead defecting to a rival company. In Michael's despair, the Lin family stepped in promptly to aid the Liu family, and with our extensive network and substantial funds, he weathered the crisis. Michael's father succumbed to illness amid this harrowing business battle. Before passing, he entrusted Michael to me. "Vivian, please look after this unworthy son for me." For that charge, I became a prominent society wife, shouldering burdens not rightfully mine. Now, I am utterly exhausted. After Auntie's discharge, our divorce proceedings paused, and I continued weighing the child's fate. That afternoon, during a routine prenatal visit, the doctor asked, "Why does the child's father never come along?" My smile was tinged with bitterness as I mumbled, "He's busy with work, no time." The doctor informed me of my low fertility. If I didn't keep this pregnancy, I might never conceive again. After much deliberation, I resolved to keep the baby. "Baby, I'm sorry, Mommy can't give you a complete family," I thought, guilt-ridden, for he might lack a father's protection from birth. Unexpectedly, as I left the hospital, a familiar figure appeared. "You're pregnant," he said, a hint of surprise in his voice. "Michael, this concerns you not. We're nearly divorced, stop pestering me." He was the last person I wished to see, yet he kept reappearing. "Are you keeping this child?" "We can't divorce." I sneered. "So, you want me to abort it?" His expression turned anxious. "No, I love children, of course, I mean we don't have to divorce." His tender look now a stark contrast to when he brought his mistress to ask me. "What's that? You expect me to tolerate this mistress lording over me?" I shot back mercilessly. After years, I'd had enough of pretense. "You never soften and beg me, always acting the haughty miss," he said, his face etched with grievance, as if my pleading would prompt him to forsake Mira. "Are you mad or am I? You cheated, you're at fault, and now I should beg you? What are you? Beg you not to divorce? Keep dreaming." As we verged on a quarrel, my phone rang untimely. "Hello, are you Zoe's friend?" "She's been in a car accident." I rushed anxiously to Zoe's operating room. Seeing in surgery, I felt breathless, resting on the stairs while Michael fetched glucose. Zoe, my college roommate and dear friend, bonded through years of mutual support. I couldn't grasp why this befell her. My anxiety peaked. After notifying Zoe's parents, I couldn't stop fretting, fearing she'd leave me. I prayed incessantly for her safety, but amid my turmoil, a familiar mocking voice sounded. "TSK, heard she crashed. Serves her right for not letting me in her script," Mira taunted. I looked up to find her there, unannounced. "What are you doing here?" I'd hit her, no exaggeration. "Nothing, Michael said he was here, so I came to keep him company," she said, in a provocative skirt, biting her red nails seductively. TSK, serves her right," she repeated. I felt abdominal pangs, a dull ache surging to my head. "What the hell are you gloating for? Get lost." My head buzzed, stomach in agony, her taunts amplifying my distress. I moved to make her leave, but 3 or 4 steps away, she stood and shoved me hard. "Stinking woman, don't come near me. Want to fight?" Her words dripped with insults. The push, neither light nor heavy, just enough, sent my belly against the railing. Perhaps the heat, my worry for Zoe, or Mira's taunts caused me to faint. Collapsing, I felt warm liquid from below, my mind foggy, the surroundings darkened as if someone switched off the lights. Various sounds reached me: Michael yelling for a doctor, Mira crying. I pushed her first utter chaos. After a while, the hospital lights dimmed, and in the darkness, I could finally rest. I awoke on a bed, Auntie tending me. Michael sat beside me, Mira play-acting and weeping outside. Irritated by them, I pointed emotionally, "Get out." Auntie swiftly expelled him and Mira. "I told you to leave earlier. Must you linger and annoy?" Mira muttered outside, "It wasn't my fault anyway." I touched my flat abdomen. The child was gone. Seeing Auntie's worried gaze, I broke down. "Auntie, my child is gone." Tears cascaded like a waterfall. I cried until exhaustion, unaware how long, as Auntie comforted me bedside, saying my sorrow pained her too. "Child, stop crying, your health matters," she urged. "Health?" My body was long ravaged. Then, I truly loathed Mira, having thought only to end an unhappy marriage before. Ours was a contractual marriage, devoid of emotional roots. Severing it would bring peace, but Mira killed my child, striking fatally when I was broken, unforgivable. I vowed to make her suffer 1,000-fold. During my recovery, Michael, undeterred, brought Mira. "Vivian, sorry, I brought her to apologize," pressing her head down sternly. "What use was an apology?" Mira, reluctant beside him, protested. "I said I'm not wrong. How can you treat me this way?" Sobbing, she wiped tears. "Didn't you say you loved me most? Why force me now?" Michael, just stern, softened instantly. "Mira, don't cry, never mind." Witnessing this, I felt no sorrow, only amusement. Michael was ever thus. All principles crumbled before Mira's tears. The play had dragged on, the farce should end. "Who were you performing this affectionate bitch act for?" I hurled a nearby cup. "Even now," Michael staunchly defended Mira. "Auntie, tending me in the ward, returned from washing fruit and, seeing this vile pair dare approach, promptly had them ejected. Can't you wise up? Deceived by her since childhood isn't enough? Now your only child's lost to her, and you still shield that wretch?" Auntie, livid, struggled to breathe. "Mom, her child's gone, but Mira's still what? Show me proof. Seen a test? Look at this." Auntie thrust recent paparazzi shots of Mira smoking and drinking at Michael. The instant he saw them, Michael paled, confronting Mira. "What's this? You lied to me." Her deception crushed him then. His only child gone, the woman he adored most had schemed against him. Trembling, he crouched in agony, rage and grief driving him to vomit blood. "Michael, so your heart can ache too." Mira's tears flowed and stopped like a tap. Seeing his pain, she dropped her antics. "It's not like that, Michael, let me explain." He slammed the door and left, Mira in frantic pursuit. Eating fruit with Auntie, still fuming, she said, "I hope this opens his eyes to that wretch Mira," stopping her repeated bewitchments. "He won't. He'll never wake up," I replied, knowing Michael too well. He always craved the unattainable, like Mira. He's a greedy fish, biting bait cast again and again, until a cruel fisherman hauls him ashore to slaughter. Leaving the medical center, I visited Zoe. Thankfully, her crash wasn't severe, just a fracture, no danger. Now, in a cast, she wrote a new script at home. "Vivian, I suspect this crash was deliberate revenge," she said upon seeing me. I sat, listening as she detailed. I was on a new road to the west suburbs set, barely known to drivers. The drunk driver usually drove a sedan. This truck wasn't, as police found its owner died 2 years ago. Recalling Mira's hospital taunts, I sensed the truth. "Mira said you barred her from the new play?" I asked. "That shameless mistress acting in my work?" "Dream on." Zoe teared up, then guiltily added, "I heard about your child. I'm sorry. If not for my crash, your child wouldn't." I patted her back, "But her grudge with you stems from me." Her gaze resolute, she said firmly, "Vivian, you mustn't let her off," and I nodded. "Absolutely, I'd avenge myself on that wretch." Mira's fake pregnancy and deception of Michael matched my suspicions. He forgave her in the end, and I gave up on him. Michael and I finalized our divorce that weekend. Signing and receiving the certificate, I felt unprecedented freedom. On my divorce day, Mira waited for Michael at the Civil Affairs Bureau, quite a feat for a star on such a hot day. Seeing us exit separately, she ignored me, rushing to hug Michael. "From now on, you're free of her. I'm your wife." He nodded fondly, prompting my thought, "A scoundrel fits a wretch." Cooing as they walked, she pleaded, "Husband, I want that new drama, please, fresh from my divorce." She called him husband, shamelessly bold. Michael looked at me helplessly. That famed writer's her college friend begging me won't help, she must agree. Mira ignored me, pestering him repeatedly, and he indulged her. I smiled faintly. "You want prime resources? Fine, I'll give them. I'll prepare your grandest wrap-up ceremony." Back home, I called Zoe. "Mira, that wretch, wants Michael's funded drama so badly? Let her have it." Zoe, though puzzled, agreed. Next, I tapped all contacts to hire private detectives, handing them photos. "Investigate this truck driver." I offered a near astronomical fee, insisting, "I want only the truth." Once arranged, Mira joined the crew swiftly, and I waited quietly for my revenge day. During this period, I meticulously managed the Lynn family business. After years of striving for Michael, I thrived in commerce. I founded a new media company, acquiring vast resources. After securing strategic deals with influential outlets, I'd expose Mira's filthy deeds to climb the ladder to the world. Days later, Auntie called, furious. Michael and Mira were engaged, planning a lavish wedding billed as the century's grandest. She opposed it throughout but couldn't stop her son. As a mother, she couldn't accept that wretch in the Liu family, suggesting she stay with me. "Auntie, it's okay, she won't end well." On their engagement announcement day, I watched the live stream. Mira beamed radiantly. As it ended, my phone rang. It was her, voice familiar. "Michael's always loved me. You're just a substitute, Miss Vivian. Your child's gone. What can you do?" "All's as I wished." I smiled lightly, knowing her type grew smug. "Yes, you're thriving, everything as you desire. I wish you well." Speaking softly, with a mysterious edge, I said, "But did you know? I have all those photos of you escorting, serving many bosses." She scoffed. "Do you know the capital behind me? Even with scandalous photos or videos, you've nowhere to expose them." "Ha, laughable." I hung up decisively, ignoring that conceited wretch. On the film's wrap-up day, I had Zoe hosted at a spare Lynn estate. True to form, Mira went grand, inviting nearly all media, who eagerly flocked to the new Liu wife's event. I called estate security. "The client values this wrap-up, it must run 2 full hours, no one in or out." "Oh, right," I added, "except police, they can enter." "Mira, I'd ample time prepared for you to drown in your beloved extravagance." Once major media arrived, security sealed the perimeter, and I overlooked it all from the estate's second floor. Mira eagerly discussed her wedding plans with the press, pride evident. "Michael and I will marry later this year." "Thank you for the blessings," she replied graciously, every inch the wealthy matron. She likely felt at life's pinnacle, marrying into wealth, starring in major dramas. I watched the noisy crowd coldly, thinking, it's time to reel it in. I sent her old escort photos and indecent videos to all my media outlets with one directive: front-page headlines, top every major site's hot search. Mira's scandals flooded online instantly. "Mira, recall how you latched onto others when the Liu family fell? I'll refresh your memory thoroughly." In a flash, the web teemed with evidence of her currying favor, seducing various men to rise. Public outrage erupted. Michael's company scrambled to scrub the searches, but my myriad outlets unleashed wave after wave, crashing major sites temporarily. God, disgusting. Mira's such a person? Wow, all her resources from selling herself? What a mess. Seriously, you dumped Michael and now cling again. Have some shame. Each scathing comment I read cheered me. Soon, venue reporters caught wind, thrusting photos before her, blinding flashes rendering her near sightless. Her phone-holding hand shook, disbelief etched on her face. "Miss Mira, explain these photos, please." Her expression paled visibly, frantically seeking her manager amid the press encirclement. "Just friends fooling around. These can't be taken seriously." But how could reporters let her off? "Miss Mira, why did you abandon Michael then?" Did you engage in vicious competition? Endless questions bombarded her. She collapsed, helplessly gazing around. Stop shooting, stop, I want my manager. Security, make them leave, she yelled, frantically searching for aid. Mira, you've cracked at last, this is your true self, an uncouth madwoman. Reporters surged like waves, some drafting on the spot. Hot news is their lifeblood. How will you escape these frenzied piranhas today? New wife's escort photos exposed, collapses at wrap-up, hot searches piled up. Soon, Michael's assigned manager pushed through. Please, no more photos, we'll address this at a press conference later. He dragged a limp, broken Mira toward the exit. Security ringed her escape attempts, blocking it. Sorry, no entry or exit here. From the second-floor platform, I watched this farce silently. The real show's just begun, I thought, posting a recording online. Swiftly, newly made accounts spread a recording across the web. I want you to hit her, got it? A familiar voice. How much? 3 million per job. A deep male voice, like that drunk driver's. Who? Zoe, a screenwriter against me. Done. I saw the audio's likes and plays hit tens of millions in seconds. Soon, it looped over the estate's broadcast. From above, I watched Mira cover her ears instantly. Not real, not real, I destroyed it all. Where'd you get this? Tell me. She smashed tableware wildly, clawing at her once prized hair and nails. Her manager tried stifling her at first, but Mira's mental defenses had shattered, reporters snapping her frenzied state. Police confirmed the recording wasn't fake, matching the crash driver's voice. Cars arrived swiftly, and I watched Mira handcuffed. Only at the end did she grasp it, screaming at the cameras, Vivian, you wretch, it must be you who ruined me. Mira, how could I ruin you? If you don't want it known, don't do it, you reap what you sow. I touched up my lipstick before the mirror. For years, I wore it to please others. Now, at last, for myself. Police gathered evidence swiftly, convicting Mira of hiring a killer. Afterward, Michael crumbled, unable to accept his dear Mira as an escort and murderer. He drank incessantly, shedding countless tears daily. Finally, he crashed while drunk. After a grave illness, he let go of the past, delegating company affairs and leaving to travel elsewhere. Revenge achieved, Zoe and I held a celebration. Tipsy, she asked, just suppose your ex didn't like Mira, would you still be fine now? Alcohol slowed my mind, recalling the past. Maybe if no Mira, he might have lived well. But then I refilled my glass. To freedom, long live freedom. What's good about being a rich wife? Endless banquets, endless paperwork. Zoe, swaying drunkenly, agreed, you're right, long live freedom. Long live freedom.